I just saw Marty Supreme last night, and this might just take the cake for me as my favorite movie of 2025. In terms of the best movie from 2025, it's really between this and One Battle After Another, but this movie has so many great things going for it, and if you're familiar with the Safdies and their adrenaline-filled movies, then nothing will come as a surprise, in a good way. You might look at this movie and see ping pong in the trailer, and you might think it's a sports movie, but honestly, this movie is much more of a thriller and a drama than a sports movie. Marty's main motivation is to be the best at ping pong, but with the plot you can at times forget that he's a freakishly good player because most of the movie is centered around him hustling and dealing with the consequences of his relationships. A lot of people are calling this movie an anti-Rocky, and that makes sense because the athlete who has a dream in this movie, Marty Mauser, is far from a good person who you root for in the typical sense. He is completely motivated by self-interest, and he's, let's face it, a terrible person. He takes advantage of everyone, and in the moments where his schemes come back to bite him in the ass, you kind of enjoy it. At least I did. But at the same time you root for him in a weird way because you see the lengths he is willing to go to actualize his dream. He is an underdog without a moral compass, but you still find yourself rooting for him, and that is in large part thanks to Timothee Chalamet's amazing performance. In Rocky and other sports movies, victory and obsession are often paired with discipline and other virtues which make them noble. But in Marty Supreme, Marty's drive toward victory is not a noble thing that is paired with discipline and principles. Instead, he's a hustler who is willing to do whatever it takes to make it to the top. This difference in the lead characters is what makes this movie an anti-Rocky, since it has similar themes, but it gives you a completely different character who presents these ideas in a new light. Timothee Chalamet gives an amazing performance, and I know he's the most high-profile actor of his generation, but he honestly deserves every bit of it. He does an amazing job of playing this narcissist who keeps your eyes peeled to the screen. The rest of the cast also does an amazing job, especially those who don't even come from an acting background. I would say Kevin O'Leary is the other standout performance in this movie as the brutal business magnate who doesn't believe in second chances. Bro is just playing himself.
Nate, your wife's father-in-law is your dad.
But the casting works in this movie. Even Tyler the Creator does an amazing job. The soundtrack in this movie also works, with a lot of the songs from the 80s being incorporated but never feeling out of place, despite them not being period accurate. In a movie like The Great Gatsby from 2013, the modern pop music breaks the immersion because the time period is so pronounced in that movie. The Great Gatsby is constantly reminding you through its characters and dialogue that it's a movie set in the Roaring '20s, since that is a large idea in the book as well. But with Marty Supreme, its time period is more in the background and not as pronounced, so this makes the music choice not seem as out of place since it doesn't make a big deal out of its setting. The next thing I will say about this movie is that it's intense. Every plotline comes back to merge together, and it's amazing how intense this movie can get. Of course, if you've seen Uncut Gems, then this is not a surprise, but Marty Supreme is another great thriller that keeps you on the edge of your seat. This movie is examining the life of someone who is driven purely by one goal and how far they are willing to go to reach that goal. And the fact that it's based off the real Marty Reisman definitely helps since the characters feel so real. Probably because they are. Now, I couldn't do a fact check on what's real and what's not real. There is an article from Slate that I wanted to read to check this out, but it's behind a paywall, and I'm too broke for that, man. But with the movies out in the theaters right now, you have two choices of what to watch: Avatar: Fire and Ash or Marty Supreme. If you've seen Avatar: The Way of Water, then you've basically seen Fire and Ash. Marty Supreme is a breath of fresh air though, and it never drags in its runtime, whereas you feel the length of Fire and Ash in my honest opinion. So if there is one movie you should watch in the theaters right now, it's Marty Supreme. This is a great movie, almost up there with Whiplash for me in how effective and intense it is, and it would not surprise me if this movie takes its fair share of Oscars this award season. It's really between this and One Battle After Another, so it's going to be an interesting race to see. Do yourself a favor and watch this movie if you haven't already, and if you have, then please let me know what you think about this movie in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.